You're listening to The Critical Thought, where we challenge our listeners to use critical thinking when examining the teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Hey, this is Lady Cee.
Hey, this is JT.
We're back for another episode of The Critical Thought, and here we are just talking all about, the last couple of months and what we've been up to. We want to thank everybody for sending their well wishes to us and emails and care packages and things like that. And we have been recovering actually from a car accident. And if you want to get all the details about that accident, you can head over to my Hidden Struggles channel where I'm telling you all about it. But we've also had the opportunity to take a break, a much needed break. And now we're just here kind of talking about, some of the things that we've been up to and what has been happening in our neck of the world.
Yep, sure have. And since the accident, we've had the opportunity to hear so much that's been going on in the Exjw community, and it has been amazing. We weren't able to get back and put anything together because we was actually laid up in the hospital. But here we are, we're back, and we want to share what our thoughts and our views on it, and we will do that in another video. But we did want to just share a couple of things that happened to us while we was in the hospital. It never stops. Lady Cee, maybe you can just start us off if you want to about what happened when we got in the hospital with the doctors and the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because, as a caretaker, I had the opportunity to spend a lot of time at the hospital with my mom. And they always would ask questions about, do you have a community that you're with? And, the whole thing about it is the chaplain's going to come by and visit you kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
And that happened with my mom when we were toward the end of her life and stuff. And the chaplain did call me to talk to me and whatnot. And so when she, we weren't terminal or anything like that, but before you are released from the hospital, the doctors will ask you about, do you have a religious community that you belong to? So, we generally don't get into this. We don't really talk about that. So I said to JT, I said, should we tell her? Should we tell her? So would you say, JT?
Yeah, oh yeah. So she said, do you have a religious community that you're a part of? And we says, well, we used to be very much a part of a religious community. We used to be Jehovah's Witnesses. And at that point, her eyes just lit up. The reason why is because she was very familiar with the Hospital Liaison Committee. So we actually had the opportunity to tell her that we actually have a channel that we deal with that helps people who are coming out of the Jehovah's Witnesses. And the conversation was very interesting because she shared with us how it is when she has met with the Hospital Liaison Committee. And unfortunately, it's kind of like what we thought it was. The doctors have no respect for these guys. I mean, they have no respect for these guys. She made a point about their training. And she was amazed how these guys represented people who are in medical situations and they have no medical background. And she said she noticed that they basically just read. They just read what the script is, which is very, very dangerous, as she says, because many times the issues of discussion have nothing to do. And so we told her, we said, we have a channel that we have put together that helps Jehovah's Witnesses. And she actually wanted the channel that she said, what's the name of the channel and everything? So it was interesting how it went down.
Yeah, because she was like, she was like so attentive as we were talking about it. And you could tell she was just soaking up everything we were saying. And it was like, she had never had this kind of discussion with anybody before. And
no.
She goes, I got to write this down. I got to be able to share this with my colleagues and everything, And so that was an interesting discussion. And so we're like, oh, wow, we got a chance to unwitness at the hospital.
Yeah.
Right? But now, one of the things that is, modern medicine today in our modern world, everybody creates a portal where you can go log in to, check out what the doctor said. You can get your lab results. Because it was so interesting. Because when I was in the hospital, I wanted to get my lab results. Because, I'm that person that people think I'm a nurse, but I'm not. Because when I say I'm tuned into my health, I am. So the nurse said, she goes, oh, don't worry about it. She said, don't you have an account with the hospital? I said, yeah. And so she said, well, just log in. She said, they'll be there in about 30 minutes. My labs, right? So it's like, oh, I can get that in here too, because I knew I could get it when I was at home. You go to LabCorp and all that kind of stuff, and you can get your labs. So I logged in, And I was able to get my labs from when they just took my blood like 30 minutes ago. I was like, wow, this is nice.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
So just in case you might not know that, you can actually do that. So the only thing that they didn't let me see was the radiology reports. They didn't do that until after I was released from the hospital. And the same thing with my patient chart. So, you know, like they're as you're in the hospital, they're like writing up all these notes about you. So as the nurse comes in, she gives you your medication. They're putting notes in your chart, and just everything about what's happening to your chart. It's just everything you're saying is going in your chart.
Yep, sure is.
To the point where I had shared some information with one of the nurses, or she was not really a nurse. She was an advocate that comes around and talks to people. And I had said something about a food allergy. And I then called down to place my order for dinner that evening. And the lady in the kitchen, she says, "Oh yeah," she said, "You know, she said you're on a gluten-free diet." Like, and I'm like, really? And then I remember that I had talked to, I think that lady might have been a dietitian or whatever.
Yeah, I think so.
And she said, "Yeah, somebody called down here and said that you couldn't have gluten," you know, and it was just so crazy. And I was like, really? And so what ended up happening was she cut off my all gluten from my diet.
Yep, sure did.
So just that little conversation got to the kitchen.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, I get home.
Yeah.
I start reading through my information, you know, on the notes that they made about me. Former Jehovah's Witness is all through my records.
Yeah.
She's a former Jehovah's Witness. She's a former Jehovah's Witness. Yeah. And I'm like saying, everything you say can and will be held against you in the court of law in the hospital.
Yeah.
Okay? So, you know, when you go to the hospital, and I did kind of touch on this on my channel on Hidden Struggles, about how, you know, when you are in the hospital, you might want to be careful what you say.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, it was kind of interesting, some of the comments I was getting on that channel, because some people were like, "I beg to differ with you. I am a nurse. And even if I did find out that you were a former Jehovah's Witness, I would still be nice," because that was what I was saying in that video. I was talking about how if a person is reading through my chart and they see that I am a former Jehovah's Witness and they might be a witness themselves, or either what I call a Jehovah's Witness sympathizer, and I'm saying that about people that have family members that are witnesses, or they were raised in it but they left, or whatever. So they could kind of start feeling some kind of way about you. Oh, yeah. They might not feel comfortable, you know, being around you because you in your charts is saying that you're a former Jehovah's Witness. And
it was good to see that there were people who say, you know, I remain professional, and that's really what a person has to do, is to remain professional. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, we know that that's not the case for all Jehovah's Witnesses. And it's kind of interesting because a few years back, the Watchtower had an article about what should a witness who works in a facility comes across someone in the congregation. For example, they may work at the doctor's office and they may find out a little 17-year-old sister has some type of procedure or some type of medical issue. What would they do? And the Watchtower did not tell people, you know, you have a moral obligation, an ethical obligation, there's HIPAA laws and so. That is not what the Watchtower said. You got to decide for yourself. And so when Jehovah's Witnesses are put in situations like that, it can be very dangerous because all people who are Jehovah's Witnesses, they will not remain professional. They'll go straight to the elders. And that's just a fact because that's what Jehovah's Witnesses will do many times. And the article that they did was interesting how they covered it. They did not tell people, well, you have a obligation. You know, it's your job as a professional. No, that wasn't how the article was presented. Mm-hmm. And so they was like, well, it's up to you. You decide. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means you get witnesses who decide. I'm going to the elders, let them know that the sister here, they came down to the doctor's office for this procedure. So just realizing that witnesses, their first loyalty, unfortunately for so many, and we know this, is to the organization. We talk to too many people every day whose family shows them on a daily basis, I am loyal to this organization. I'll go down with the ship. So it was just interesting that it was put into our records, and you never know who sees your records, and you never know how that individual Jehovah's Witness will be. Mm-hmm. While as people comment, well, I try to be professional. That's wonderful. That's good.
Right.
but that's not the case for everybody.
And I felt like because of being the patient, you know, it puts you in an awkward situation. So it's not like, oh, this person is going to treat me bad or not. But then if something goes down where, oh, they didn't come back for 5 minutes, or they didn't, in the back of your mind, you're saying, I know they ain't coming back, and say, no, I'm a witness, and they try to make me wait. I don't press this button in the hospital to get some assistance, and now they don't help everybody all up and down the hallway but me. I mean, so, you know, it's just that the awkwardness that you have because just knowing how, like JT saying, just how you're treated.
You just never know. Yeah.
You know? And I knew a sister that in my mom's congregation a long time ago, she was working at a group home, or it was like one of those houses that, you know, like assisted living kind of places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there was a sister that was working there with her, and she was all about to quit her job because the sister was disfellowshipped. And so she just couldn't, you know, be there. Yeah. She didn't want to be there. So you just got to make sure that those kind of things are not facing you. But if we had to do that again, I don't think I would really get into that discussion. And that was actually a comment that somebody made on that video. They actually said, don't say anything that you don't want people to know about you. You know? Yeah. So I mean, it was an interesting scenario, and just being in the hospital, and just so grateful. You wake up every day, and you know you don't realize that, you know, just how fragile life is, you know, and one day you wake up and then you go someplace, you get in an accident, and you're like, oh my God, everything has changed.
Yeah,
you know?
It gives you a whole perspective.
And so it gives you a chance, you know, in the last couple of months that we haven't been on the platform, you know, just gave me a chance to think about things and, you know, how we want to proceed with our channel and stuff like that. And so sometimes you do need a break. You need a break from everyday life because you don't realize that, you know, how busy you've been.
Oh yeah. It was busy.
And just getting that little bit of time to recuperate. And I'm still recuperating from my injuries, because I actually had a fractured sternum, which is actually still fractured. But it has just given me a chance to just relax a little bit from being on this YouTube channel as well. You know.
That's so true. You get a whole different perspective when your mortality faces you many times, and so it just gives you a whole. It's like a reset almost. One of the things that we did ask the doctor, who had dealt with the Hospital Liaison Committee, was what happens when witnesses no longer have the elders around, and she was very upfront. She says she's seen it so many times that once the elders walk out, once the family walk out, and it's an issue like blood, please let my baby die. Help me. And so you have basically witnesses who they stay on point when the elders are there. But when the elders leave, the liaison committee leaves, they many times share with the doctors what their true feelings are. And it's very unfortunate that people have to live their lives where they have to pretend that they go along with all the rules and regulations of Watchtower world, when in reality they don't. And we know that. That's why we have people who they live double lives, because the Watchtower, people realize I'll smile at elders and everything, but in reality, I don't believe this stuff. And we see that. We see it on so many levels, Right. Well, you know, we did do a video about that, about the blood issue. And we had a doctor that actually sent us an email and told us exactly the same thing that doctor told us, that when they said, just don't let my family see me taking the blood, you know? Yeah. And then on my video on Hidden Struggles, there was a guy who made a comment, and he said, well, you know, the Hospital Liaison, and you already know this, JT, but the Hospital Liaison Committee, they're just there to make sure that you don't take the blood. Oh, yeah. Because when we were first leaving the religion some years ago, I ended up in the hospital. And I remember so vividly telling JT, I said, I do not want to put Jehovah's Witness on my name. And he said, no, you still got to put that down there, because we were fading at the time. And I'm like, why do I got to put that up there? This makes no sense. And then he was like, the reason why he wanted me to do that is because he didn't want the elders to see my name, because they go around every night looking to see if there's anybody in the hospital, or how often they do. And you were like, you didn't want, I was there on a Saturday night or something. I think so, yeah. So I know it's weekends they probably go, right? Whenever the elders go, they have the group that goes around.
Okay.
They'll visit sometimes to see
Okay.
if anybody has had an accident and so forth. Because I am doing that myself. I ran into a brother who was in a car accident, a young guy. And so they look up there and see, because you come in under the pastor type, arrangement. You can even park out in the pastor's spot if you want to. So that's the kind of issue that you run into.
And so JT was like, if the brothers in our congregation came, saw my name being registered there as a patient, and then did not identify as a Jehovah's Witness as we were trying to fade, he said that would have probably caused more problems than enough.
We just didn't want to. We didn't want to mess with any of Watchtower's programs.
So at that point, and I said I could not wait to get offered under that name. And another recent experience that happened to me at one of my doctor's offices from years ago, and you might want to check this out yourself. So I remember they gave me my record to be able to confirm, hey, is your name, your address, and all that stuff correct? Do you know that they still had my religion as being one of Jehovah's Witnesses?
It's in the system. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm talking from years ago, had not been updated.
Yes.
And I'm gonna tell you, I'm not gonna pull no punches when I say this. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how professional people claim to be. When that name, Jehovah's Witnesses, shows up in the medical community, it is not positive.
Oh, no.
At all.
Oh, no, it's not. No,
and so when you get into the doctor and they're looking at you all crazy and they're looking at you like, oh, this is one of the persons that's not going to take blood and all that kind of stuff. Once you leave this religion, you don't still want that stigma on you.
Yeah.
And I told the lady, I said, oh my goodness, I said, I don't even belong to this religion anymore. Yeah. And I said, can you please take this out of the system? And she said, no problem, we're good, we got you. But I'm just saying that check your records and make sure that all that stuff is out of your records.
It's still top with Watchtower, don't even know it.
Yeah, because, I mean, can you imagine if you still got your blood card? I mean, it could be from 20 years ago, but if you still got your blood card registered at your doctor's office and you don't realize that record speaks for you when you can't speak for yourself.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, that's so true. Make sure you got your paperwork squared away in regards to Watchtower world. That's
right. For sure. So we just want to come out and just, chit chat a little bit about where we've been. And yes, we do know about all, like JT said when we first started, yes, we do know about all the things that's going on in the community. And in our next few videos, we're going to try to catch you up and what our opinion is on some of the things happening, including the beard.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, so we really appreciate you guys and all the well wishes that we got, like we said. Yeah. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
All right, take care. This has been JT.
And this has been Lady C.
This program was sponsored by Critical Thinkers.